Welcome back. Now, in other international news, we learn on Infowars.com, Hong Kong is striking back. West attempts to spin the growing anti-Occupy movement. Now, they point out and document very well in this article how the United States is fostering revolution there, just as they have throughout the Arab Spring. But we should bear in mind that whenever the government gets involved in funding somebody against the Chinese, against the Russians, or against any other group, that doesn't necessarily mean that that movement has been taken over by the American government or is simply a tool. If we were to look at it that way, let's think about the American Revolution. Was that simply a fight between the British Empire and the French Empire? Of course it was at one level. And of course we would not have won that fight without the assistance of the French. But that doesn't mean that there weren't some real serious issues about liberty at stake. And we need to not make that same mistake when we look at other countries. One of the things that's very well documented in here, of course, is how Vietnam was used as a domino against China. That's how they sold it to the American public. That's how the military-industrial complex sold it. And of course, in the fog of war, Robert McNamara recounted how decades later, when he went to Vietnam, the fellow who had fought against him pounded the table and said, "What were you thinking with this idiotic domino theory? We fought the Chinese for over 1,000 years for our independence. We weren't going to become a subordinate of China, and they are still fighting China today. You still see that they're not allied. We need to understand that so we don't get drawn into wars in Syria, and we need to understand that so that we don't throw under the bus every independence movement that we see." Now, speaking of involvement in Syria, we learned over the weekend that ISIS ammunition is shown to have origins in the United States and China. The New York Times reports that suggests that ammunition transferred into Syria and Iraq to help stabilize governments has instead passed from the governments to the jihadists. Well, it doesn't suggest that. They're the ones suggesting that's the case. We would say it's been much more directly passed in. They say rifle cartridges from the United States, the samples show, have played a significant role. Remember that it wasn't that long ago that InfoWars reported, it was actually August of 2013, that we reported that there were 600,000 AK-47 cartridges purchased by the U.S. Army. At the time, everyone was asking where these were going because the U.S. Army does not use AK-47s. So why are they purchasing that kind of ammunition in that kind of quantity? We have shown over and over again the connections between the U.S. government and Syrian rebels who are now called ISIS or ISIL or whatever. They are surrogates being armed, trained, equipped, and protected by the U.S. government. And if you want to know how this looks, just look at the pictures in this article from InfoWars. U.S. alliance with FSA and ISIL in just 6 photographs. I'm not going to run down through those photographs. You can go to the website and take a look at them, but it shows ample connection between one individual meeting with senators, meeting with the CIA, meeting with the rebels, just as we've seen Senator McCain do the same thing. It's an open secret. Everybody knows that we were going to invade a year ago to be al-Qaeda's air force. Nothing has changed, and all of these actions that are happening now with ISIS, they've stood down just like they have stood down for the Ebola pandemic until it reaches a level that they want to use it to escalate into something else, into martial law at home with the Ebola pandemic, or into another war to take down the Syrian government. That's what's been in their sights for many, many years. And we've told you that from the very beginning. Well, that's it for our news tonight. Please consider becoming a Prison Planet TV subscriber. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe on YouTube. But you can help to support the operation with your paid subscription to Prison Planet TV. One subscription allows you to share it with up to 11 other people. And then you can all watch at the same time, as well as sharing Alex Jones's documentaries. Join us again tomorrow at 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Introducing the first proprietary oxygen-based intestinal cleanser, OxyPowder. Backed by FDA-approved Phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical trials. All the toxins from the air, the food, the water, ultimately ends up in the gut or affects the gut. Take your health into your own hands and start cleansing your body today with OxyPowder. Secure your OxyPowder today at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com.
You are watching the InfoWars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. Members can share their passcode with up to 11 other people, and your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.